That's a draft, so we can make it.
No, I'm good.
My wife just got back from doing that.
Somebody was pointing out that you gave a student
Fun,
or
but-
even a teacher forgot to read it.
No,
It
it's,
wouldn't know that it was challenging stuff.
Well, these two got more person.
Undependable that way.
Most of them hate the
Yeah.
numbers.
Need to get a lift for me.
My fourth grade teacher knew exactly, I always respected her. She knew my butt. I wasn't learning my times tables. So she took my library with me. The next day, I knew all my times. How about
You
that?
know, to motivate you.
I thought that was so insightful and smart of her. Mrs. Sonnenstein, never forget. No amount of detention was done.
See, we still got that awkward minute sitting down or quiet.
That's something awkward right before we get started.
I could have rolled in a minute and a half late.
You can sing us a song.
when I first started flying with my wife, she liked for the crew to shut the door as she walked in. Crazy.
Get the one seat on the plane, you do that.
Well, unless you've got a reserve seat.
What,
You think
I was
it's
never in position to.
South-
Yeah.
Southwest Cattle Call? Is that what we're going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody told me the other day we were flying southwest from New York back to San Antonio, and they said, "Oh, no class." No class.
Yeah.
Call me when you have no class.
I call this meeting of the Schertz-Cibolo-Universal City Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this board meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. The time is 6 p.m. Roll call.
All board members are present except for Robert Westbrook.
We'll just play it by ear when Robert gets here. Let's do the pledges. Just trying to decide if I was. Welcome, everyone.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, thank you, everyone. Welcome. See some familiar faces out there. You got your own seat back there, huh? We thought about putting your name on it, but we knew you could find it. All right, well, thank you, George, thank you, and Craig, thank you guys for being here. We look forward to hearing what you have to say, and I guess I better make sure there are no public comments.
There are no public comments.
Thank you very much. All right, so the new business for today is the discussion with the Texas Association of School Boards, Executive Search Service Consultant regarding the superintendent search process and superintendent search timeline and calendar.
All
Over to you.
Okay, all right. Mr. Perkins, thank you very much, and members of the board, really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight and to serve you in this process for your next superintendent. I want to introduce Craig Stockstill. This is Craig. You might remember Craig, some of you that have been on the board before in the previous search. Craig is the Region 20 Field Service Representative for TASB, and certainly calls upon the district many times, but also is going to be assisting in the search process. So thanks, Craig, for being here tonight. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And so, as Jerry was saying tonight, is really our main objective is to just to decide as a group the timeline. I think that's very critical, and I see many of you brought your calendars, which is wonderful. Your search, though, is in terms of backs up to the holidays, so Thanksgiving and Christmas, as well as Dr. Ely's announcement of his last day retirement, January 31st. So we have some of those things to work through. But I'm hopeful that after tonight, then we can all agree, and so that we can post this timeline along with the opening of the position on of course, Hez's website, plus all the other outlets that we use too.
Good.
So that's our main objective. The other objective tonight, real quickly, would be just to share, I think Ms. Martinez passed out to you the some draft of qualifications, characteristics. Just wanted to talk about those again, not set in stone whatsoever. There could be other unique things we have found in our processes that many of these are similar in different communities, but just wanted to share that with you. And then see if you have any other questions after that, and talk about the profile that is out there. We've already posted that community profile. I know you have that on your website links as well for your community, and we'll talk about that and see. So first of all, let's look at then the draft timeline. So again, here we are tonight, Wednesday, October the 18th. And so the first thing is, as I mentioned to you, is our community involvement sessions. We certainly have the online survey going. And so the question is to you all, would you like for us to come and do any in person? Why don't we tackle that first?
So you're talking about meeting with community members,
Yes.
meeting with teachers?
We can decide, yes, we have done it a number of ways. Many times we'll come in, won't of course, just be Craig and myself and maybe other members of our team. We can split up, we can do community meetings as well as then staff. Secondary, a lot of times I've seen a secondary meeting and then an elementary teacher meeting.
And this was the survey part, right?
Yes, it's very similar to the survey questions. Really not anything differently unless you all have any other different types of questions that you'd like to ask them, but many times people like that one-on-one or like the face-to-face opportunities.
So let me ask you, so since 2019, you've probably done quite a few of these. Where do you see the most input? In an online survey, or like the input you're getting from the community, face-to-face, online?
Online, yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
And I think I vaguely remember the last time we had y'all out here, I want to say there were like, as far as the people you met with in person, the number was low. And I believe you went to a couple of schools, and so I remember that. And so.
We had one evening meeting, I think, of invited people that showed up, maybe 10 or 15 people. That was the max. I remember the elementary, I think it was elementary school, maybe middle school that I went to, maybe had 5 or 6 people.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, right, you're gonna get, and they're gonna be the most vocal people. So it's hardly a representative sample. But I can see it having a function in terms of feelings, perception. But in terms of actually providing quantitative or even qualitative information, I'd say the return on that would be pretty low.
It's been my experience, not just this district, but other districts.
So you're saying online?
Online is considerably more. And the other thing is, I'll use my dad as if you took my dad to a public meeting, he would sit there and listen, and he would get something out of it, but his participation would be very limited. Give him an opportunity to write something down and share that,
Yeah.
then he was more likely to be thoughtful about it
And I
and
do think
express himself.
the number of surveys we do, just in general,
Oh,
I think we're all trained for that now.
well, since COVID, that's really been a big change. We've seen even more so. People are just used to doing things.
The only segment, you mentioned your dad, so the only segment sometimes that we've heard is maybe your retired population, older, maybe they may not want to do the survey or may not have that opportunity or computer, but it's really not hard. This one, it's open-ended questions and it's narrative type questions. It's not, I'd say that's too technical for them to do, for anyone to do it. So it's not like they're trying to complete a mortgage application online or something, but, things like that or something. So it's really not, it's just, that's all I've seen. Your staff, as you said, trained, they're gonna respond online. Your parents, they're busy with activities, things like that, generally will definitely
Students can
respond online.
participate.
You could do
It usually is in English and Spanish, so.
yes.
And is it online already?
Yes, the survey is out, it is online.
it's on our website?
Ms. Martinez could verify that we had.
Yes, it's.
And then we can talk about that. One of the things that I like to see us do is just help the district look at them, just reminders. I think you were mentioning that you're trained, you know, your community's trained for that, but could be some reminders if it's either in a newsletter that goes out once a month or a weekly, or the campus principals do a newsletter, just reminders about it, and also to the staff. We highly encourage you to do this. I think it's important, not just to, I guess, be more passive about it, that it be out, that it's available, but it certainly be reminders sent so that you get good responses. People just intend, they have great intentions, and just, oh, I'm gonna get to that and they forget. So
Can we send it in an email too,
we send
to
the-
parents and
Right,
staff?
that's what I'm getting at,
All
yes.
of it, it's
Yeah.
gonna, okay.
The only thing I'm concerned about is people who don't have computers, or especially older people. We ran for office 2 years ago, and there were a lot of people who came to the polling place to ask us questions because they have no computer, they have no idea how to use a computer, and also people who may just not have a computer at home. How would we reach those?
Well, generally, as I said, it depends. Again, they may not then use their smartphone, but it's certainly accessible on their phone. Without the computer, you wouldn't have to have a desktop to do this either. They could use their phone quite easily. But that's what I was saying. That would be, in my view, the only segment that may not be as open. Just the same thing you said, not be your retired population.
So, go ahead. I just, the others that you have done in other districts, do you definitely go with a day where you are like maybe a district office that gets announced, so anyone who wants to stop by can stop by and talk?
We generally set it though, in certain times though. We want to be
Right.
sure there's times, so we could, I've been in a district most recently that wanted one specifically for business and community leaders. So that was a specific invitation. I think someone mentioned that I've done here before. And you send it and say, we're meeting at this location at 11 a.m. or 1 p.m., whatever you decide. Of course, the staff ones, generally we're after school for teachers and staff. Sometimes we'll do earlier in the day, maybe for exec teams, cabinets, principals. If you wanted, they could get away for that segment. Parents, again, too, generally you want to do your parents around the lunch hour and then maybe early evening. And so I've seen us put times around 11, 11:30, 12, 12:30, something, 1 at the latest, something around lunch, and then do a 5, 5:30-ish, maybe stop in before they go home.
So are you recommending like a series of days or a day?
The most I would not do it over 2 days. It would be 2 days tops.
Okay,
But we can knock it out in a day, if you will. Instead of coming in earlier in the day and midday and do, or as I said, around the lunch hour, stick with it and then finish up in that evening. You can get a nice representation in the day.
okay.
But it's up to you. We'll do it, but I would recommend no more than 2. But it's up to you all if you feel those are important to have the face-to-face.
I'm trying to get a sense of the weighting of all this. In your experience, has the board ever actually been surprised by what's revealed in these surveys? We have a vocal community. I don't think there'll be a single thing on there that takes us by surprise. I'd be surprised if we were surprised. And it's, I wouldn't want to spend, also when you think about how we're going to consider the input that we get, I wouldn't want to put too much energy and fire into things that are going to, in the end, be a small part of the weight of what we're going to do.
I think what you'll find is, again, the question is really, we want to know what do people think about are your strengths or what's going well right now. But what you may not know, you said you've heard from them or how you feel, but what the survey will do is it be able then to see the most responses. So you may get in that ranking. And really, from all the responses you receive, you really see this is this community's most proud of this. And you may have thought that, or may not, it may have been higher than you thought or lower than you thought. Does that make sense? So that's all it could do to inform you. The same thing for the challenges, issues, things that are coming up. You may feel like there's several things that are facing your school district, but the survey may then show you really what your community and your staff is thinking is the most critical. Then maybe, again, it's to inform you, just, like you said, I don't think you're gonna be surprised about the raw data that you'll receive and the amount of data and the amount of issues, but I think it helps to see which ones are identified the most often, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I would see like a situation where, say, the mayors of the towns, that, you know, and other people, council people, stuff like that, had a chance to talk to us, you know, say, in other words, a less formal, but sort of more direct of community leaders. I don't mean 4 or 5 hours of this stuff, but I just mean the opportunity to sit down with people who are actually like our stakeholders. And I'm also interested in getting good qualitative information from staff as to, you know, what are the things they want to see continue, and what are the things they want to see, you know, brought on board, so that there's a continuity question to me, and that's going to be important to the staff and the teachers. And I think that the interests of the staff are not always the same as the teachers, and so the idea being that we have a sense of kind of making sure that what we've got going is going, you know, that they like is going to be in our minds, and the things that they don't like is in our minds. But more on the organizational level, not on the classroom content level, that sort of thing, because we should have our eyes up here at the organizational level. So, you know, thinking about where we're going to be 4 years from now, 5 years from now, when the superintendent's contract's up for reconsideration. And where do we want it to be as a district, as opposed to, you know, where people are offended by this or offended by that. You know, am I making sense?
I think so.
Yeah.
So are you needing us to give you a date, or do you have a date in mind?
No, I didn't have a date in necessarily, except we had an optional date there from Otis, I think on Monday the 30th. Kind of to do that.
To talk to the community?
To talk
So
to the
when are you
community.
going to close this survey?
The survey, we tentatively say the leadership report would be submitted to you on the 28th of November. So that leadership report is a summary of the in-person as well as the online survey. So the actual date that do you remember, Craig, how long do we really need to, I guess, have to close it before we just run the leadership report?
Well,
Maybe a week
it
ahead.
depends. The leadership report has kind of evolved a little differently now, and that's most of the things that we found from most districts. Here are some of the key characteristics that we asked the folks to respond to on the application process. The real value of getting community involvement in things is when you do your transition piece. And I think you will, hopefully we've added that to our process, where we sit down with the new person, we brought them in and said, here's what the community thinks about the district. Now, we don't all agree on this, but we need to look at, here's some of the issues we have, here are some of the great things we want to do and we want to protect, and how are we going to do as a team of 8, plan that and get out. And that's the value of that community now, as opposed to, it used to be how to help you pick out questions. Well, we're going to do that also, but that can come on along as we prepare for the first round of interviews, so that you're asking those key questions, and you already have the report now in your hand and saying, okay, here's what the community thinks. Now we're going to start asking people the questions that we think are important. Does that make sense? It's evolved a little bit.
Maybe I should ask this. Should we start with the end in sight and work the other way?
Work backwards.
Yeah, because I'm kind of, when you said the 28th of November, we have a board meeting that evening. So I think our hope was to have someone before Dr. Ely left, and that is the 31st of January. Kind of with the idea that they would have a few weeks there to talk to him and transition into coming in. I don't know if naming a lone finalist before we leave in December, I think that originally was something we had kind of hoped for. Because once you name a lone finalist, we have to have X number of days, and then that puts us into January before we can actually vote to hire them, correct?
Right, that's the, I guess was the big question. If you'll notice on the draft, you had initial interviews and then you had the break, and then you had your second round. And so, agreeing with you, we need to look at that and get consensus from you all, because looking at your school calendar, you certainly have that week, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, that you're still in session, that then the very next week you could have your second rounds and try to have a board meeting before you let out for Christmas, then name your lone finalists. Correct? Am I hearing
So
that
what you're
correctly?
saying, and that would be for everyone else to chime in, because I don't know if somebody has, any of y'all have bought tickets to Switzerland or whatever for Christmas. Okay. So you're saying that we could possibly do second round the week of the 26th?
Second round would be, the week of I'm looking in December. If you kept that December 12th, 13th, and 14th
Okay,
for first round, then you would just come back the very next week
okay,
and look at 18, 19, 20 December to do your second round.
okay.
And hopefully, as I'm looking at that, then you have the 21st, 22nd is your close as a district, but you have a meeting, you still have a meeting. but
We
to
have a
name
meeting
lone-
on the 19th.
Yeah, to name a lone finalist. I don't know if you'd be able to do that. You probably would look at a lone finalist the 20th or 21st, pushing it like that. And you have a meeting on the 19th.
Of January?
No,
December.
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 I'm sorry, I'm in December. So the question is moving up the second round of interviews, instead of having those in January, to move them up that final week before you go to.
That's assuming everybody's agreeing we want it done by.
Now, your question, I'll just put out, just so everyone understands, it would be great, but it wouldn't be, I can't tell you 100%, even with that shorter timeline, with Dr. Ely's departure January 31st, there still may be some transition of your candidate to move them to get here, to be able to work, things like that, but it certainly allows a lot more, even during the 21 days, at Christmas time, that individual, he or she, can be planning and be thinking and be, when they come back after the Christmas holidays, you come in and name them officially as your superintendent, and then he or she would be able to start making those transition plans to come. But I think it looks, personally, it looks, in terms of your time and your knowledge and working, I was a little concerned about a month almost break, just because of that. You're in the thick of it, you're interviewing anywhere from 6, 7, or 8 top candidates, preferably 6 top candidates that first week, and then you bring, we hope 3 back for your finals, and that's still fresh. You still have that opportunity to be thinking of questions, follow-up questions. A little worried about Christmas and, life moves on a little bit, and things like, and getting back into the swing.
Well, whether they're going to be available that week, they may have plans.
True, but again, if we haven't posted this at all, so that's why we meet with you all now, so we get that, and that's why that it's very critical on our posting of the job, that the timeline is there, and that they understand.
It's not going to change.
Yeah.
So you're saying that the first set of interviews could potentially happen the week of the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th?
They could, I didn't say that, but I was looking at your 12, 13, 14, you could still do that as your first round, and then the very next week
And the next
Could you
week
say
then?
the month?
of December.
December,
Thank you.
yes, sorry.
I'm a newbie.
Priscilla did hang out one too that looked like this, that might be a little easier for
Oh,
you.
okay, because I was looking
Yeah,
at that.
yeah, there's another one there too, that might be a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Because after we pick someone, we would then do the business or district development finalists, correct?
Oh, we could.
That's a discussion. You
Yeah,
don't
we don't
have to,
have to.
but
Okay.
you could.
Okay.
But that's, again, you are tight timeline, so that might be
Right.
something that would be, would be difficult to do. You could certainly go, but it may be after the fact, after you've chosen your loan, have the board meeting.
Okay.
You could
So
go in
that's not a
January.
given for something you have to do.
That's your choice. What's most important? I think we have to look at what's most important.
Right.
What are your top goals? Is it to have seamless transition from Dr. Ely to your next person? Or otherwise, and I was gonna suggest, move this and don't start your first rounds until January. But hearing you tonight, you wanna have that person.
Well,
sooner,
that's
'cause I
just
don't
one
like
of
the
us.
break.
Right, that's just.
Okay, I personally didn't like the break between first round and 1 month in
Right,
January
that makes
2nd.
sense.
So one or the other, in my view.
My experience is they're not gonna sit side by side as pals in the office.
No.
Who?
They won't be there at the same time, the two superintendents.
Unless
My
that's-
experience is, and you don't want two bosses.
Right.
Yeah.
The staff doesn't want, the teachers don't want, it's one or the other.
I don't think
But that's
anybody was
not what we have.
contemplating that they would actually be hired and paid at the same time.
Just to help with the transition, because what I was told is that the superintendent, the new superintendent may or may not want any input from the old one, from the former one. But in case the new superintendent does want input, then there should be a time.
And then, to your question too, you bring the person in, and let's just stay clean with this, say they start February 1. They're not on contract till February 1.
Right.
You may compensate them a daily rate, this candidate that's coming in. So your contract is still with Dr. Ely till the end of January. So you don't have two superintendents under contract.
I know you mentioned not having an interim superintendent, but you could name someone as an acting superintendent.
1 week, 2
While
weeks.
you're at that transition. It could be somebody that's been with the district a while and done a good job, and you know that they're going to be able to handle that short term.
Right.
And I'm not suggesting you do this, but I saw one district where they named the head football coach the acting superintendent, so
There you go.
anything's possible.
Well, I know this is just a draft, but it shows vote to hire on February 7th. And, does that mean that there'd have to be a period then where they accept, and then they gotta move here and all those things? So that's past the date he'd be leaving anyway.
Right, that, on this particular draft,
Right.
but as suggested, maybe we could move that someplace. If
How
we-
many days?
We would look at the second round being in December. You trying to name your loan finalists and before you break for the Christmas holiday. And then when you come back, then you would have your vote to hire meeting. I'd have to get my calendar out and count the days. Vote to hire date, I guess we need to do that here in a minute. Vote to hire date would be sometime in earlier January. So what is your thoughts on the question here about moving up or moving it back some? I think, I'd like to just hear your consensus on you want to do let's just talk about the interviews. You want to do your interviews 2 consecutive weeks there in December, or do you want to move them both out to January, or do you like the one the way it's done now too? That gives us
So
a
the
third option.
application deadline wouldn't change, we're just changing the initial interviews and the follow-up
A week earlier.
interviews, correct? That's the only thing
I would
that's
say so.
changing?
I think that's still enough time for the applications to be open.
Is the process open
I
now?
just don't wanna rush a process and,
Is the process open now?
And we,
No.
after tonight, we
After
open
tonight,
it,
so.
because we wanted to be, because it said the timeline, I double checked that question, the timeline is critical, that's posted so the candidates see.
so if you posted it tonight, like I said, the application deadline is not changing, it's still gonna.
But it's negotiable, but
It
yes, but we
It
can keep
closes
it.
the 29th.
29th of November. Right.
So the only thing we're looking at changing is the follow-up interviews, not
Yes,
the initial interviews, just the follow-up interviews.
right.
And those would be moved to 18th, or the 20th or 21st is what you're stating?
Yes.
Okay, the 21st is an early release,
Yes.
so
Mhm.
And I currently have plans to fly out on the 19th.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
so
we
we
can-
can do that.
We have a board meeting that night.
Oh,
You
I
know.
thought you were talking about moving the initial interviews to like a week before the 12th, and then have.
Does that give them enough time to?
Here's the rub, here, after the application deadline
We don't have enough
closes,
time.
then we need a little bit of time.
Right.
We have to get that report to you of all your candidates. We also have to come in and you have to spend a meeting,
Yeah.
one meeting only on deciding which ones.
You've got to
And-
review all those
And
applications.
you have to view them all, and your time to view them all, plus decide on your
Yeah,
questions.
that's
We have data bank of those, but also we want them to be unique to what you want for your first round. And so we really have some planning time still to go, that's why I don't wanna rush it. I can't recommend anything before the
Right,
12th
I agree.
Right.
of
I agree.
December for your first round. Now, I can see the second round being that, if, even, I didn't know you were gonna be out there, and said you could be. Okay, but otherwise, then maybe just,
If you're gonna be out though.
Well, and I could adjust a day, but I mean, 2 days is messing with the
So
vacation.
if it closes on the 29th, I remember last time by the 30th, we had access to looking at all
you
the
can, you'll start
applications.
having access, yes, ma'am.
We then had 5 days
Mhm,
to look at them,
mhm.
and then we met with you.
So we have
Six.
tentatively looking at the sixth,
The
so
6th.
the 29th is a Wednesday, so 1 week later. You'll have a week to look at the applications
Okay,
online. There's videos, remember, of all of them, and you can look at that and then, coming in, and then we'll talk about your top 6 plus your questions. And decide, the logistics of your first round.
so hold on, if it opens tonight or tomorrow night, 1, 2,
If we only give them 30 days, then we could close the applications on the 17th.
well, hold on, so I was actually thinking of doing it that Thanksgiving week.
How are you conceiving?
Mr.
So,
We're just.
I know you're looking to count, the benefit of it is, if you did, then you'd have a longer application period open if you moved everything into January.
So last time we met though, like, we asked the question, like, how long would it be open? And I remember being told ideally 4 to 5 weeks. That was what y'all gave us last time. So if we,
That still allows that now.
right, so if, let's say it opens tomorrow, which is the 19th, right? 1, 2,
We can close the 17th, there's still 4 weeks.
Somebody said they already saw it.
You probably know it's coming open.
A lot of the websites, like a Texas ISD will put that this district's open, TASB's a search.
Okay.
for
I would
example.
imagine though that people who are gonna apply already know they're gonna apply, correct?
I think so, yeah.
No doubt.
If we close it on the 17th, that's 4 weeks and a day.
Okay. I could be okay with that.
I could too.
If you wait to the 24th, you have 5 weeks. So,
And then so we went to the 17th and took a week. And then we're talking, now we're in Thanksgiving. Right? So we can wait another week.
Does it have to be a set date?
You-
Or could, only reason I say that is, let's just say you go with the 4-week period of time and you get 100, right? You're like, there's no need for a 5th week, we have 100.
Right.
Versus, do we have to, if we say we're gonna extend it 5 weeks, does it have to go the whole 5 weeks, or could we just sort of say, we have 100 and we're satisfied at
Yes.
100?
I hate to not, I mean, if we put the deadline on our timeline of candidates, I
Okay.
hate for it to close early.
Yeah,
Now, we can extend it, of course.
Right.
Closing it early is tough.
Okay.
It seems to me like if we said 4 weeks, and we had 2 people, we might want to extend it.
Yeah.
But if we,
When that has happened,
but if we have more, if we have what we feel is naval sufficiency, then we can keep moving forward. And you guys have experience with this, I kind of feel like, how long does it take to review a candidate? And let's say we have 6 of them. Seems to me you could review 6 candidates in a day.
Well, right,
In
and there's gonna be.
their own mind.
You're right,
You'll be 20 to 30.
yeah, you will have 20 to 30 to read, we'll narrow it down to the top 6.
Last time we had about 40s.
Yeah, 40 something, yeah.
You looked at 40?
Yes.
That's what I had last time. I looked at every one of
Okay,
them.
well, that answers that.
Well,
But
the application, and I may be wrong, George, but I think you're gonna see less than 40 somewhere. And this is gonna be a great
20 to
district, there will be lots of good applicants, but the pools in the districts that we've been serving have dropped some. And it's not, it just has, I'm old enough to remember when there will be 100. And it's just happened, you're having trouble getting teachers, you're having trouble getting administrators. Superintendents are up the food chain, and so those same, so those applicants, you'll get some good ones, and you'll find one that's really good, but.
Well, I'm sorry, I was under the impression that you guys were gonna give us, 6 to 10.
Well,
So I think what happens is that once we can decide, I mean, some firms will do that, they will pick the ones that they think you might want. Last time we decided we wanted to look at all the applications, but then they will also too say, hey, these folks met the profiles, these are folks you might wanna consider, but we also go through, we opt to go, some of us opt to go through all of them and look at them and decide, pick our own.
And the digital process is so much better than the paper process, and it really gives you a good chance to have a talk about that.
I was trying to remember, back in 2010, Robert, didn't we have like 60-something?
No, I wasn't on that one, because Greg was hired the year before I was elected.
I'm the only one.
Welcome to my neighborhood.
I don't wanna say you're old.
I was thinking we had over 60 in 2010.
Yeah.
And 40,
Yeah.
that was pretty normal back then.
Yeah,
Yeah, the numbers had dropped, so, yeah, if we get 35, I think you're probably right.
Okay, well, if we have 35 to look at, that's a different question.
If you closed it on the 17th, then you would look at then that, moving that up, that 29th would be your review of application.
And everybody get their Thanksgiving.
During Thanksgiving, you'd be
Yeah.
looking at.
yeah.
Well,
Some people are worried about
I
cooking over
I know,
Thanksgiving.
I
Yes,
would,
someone's
but
sick.
that, I think there's that weekend before and this weekend after, and I could be fine with that.
Well, I remember when I
So
looked
far
back,
catered.
I remember in 2019, it took me probably better part of 4 or 5 hours to go through the initial run, and then went back through and set up these, and then
Yeah.
went back through and reread the ones until I got down to my final 6 or 7. So it was about 6 or 8 hours total,
Okay.
beginning and end. 30, maybe even less than that.
So if we meet on the 29th to narrow them down,
So we're
November
looking-
29th?
Yeah, which
November
month
29th,
again?
sorry,
Which
I
month?
know, sorry, November 29th.
I won't be.
So this, you won't be here.
I'll be gone from November 29th to, I was supposed to go on vacation on the 28th,
27th.
but I'm flying out early on the 29th.
Okay, so what
So I
about the
won't be here
27th?
29th to December 3rd.
28th,
27th, we have a meeting on the 28th.
do it?
Yes.
Yeah, because of Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Thanksgiving.
You're right. Yeah, we did 27th, would be perfect.
So I hope everybody appreciates the fact, because the holidays, this is harder.
Yes.
With,
Yeah.
with the timeline and with the dates and finding time and the Thanksgiving week and the 2 weeks of Christmas, so. So this would be summarized, we're talking about closing on the 17th, that Friday, correct? Of October, excuse me, of November. So, is this, there you go, yesterday. So looking at November, then looking at the 27th
To review.
to review, that gives you that week of the
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Only thing if you meet on the 27th, do you want that weekend before? I could say, I'm just advocating a little bit for the candidate, gives them one more weekend if we close it on the 20th of November. And then you meet 1 week later, is that okay? Because I'm just thinking of a candidate trying to finish up
Yeah.
their application and everything, is one more weekend to do it. Not, it's kind of compromising between 4 or 5 weeks,
Right.
that's all.
And then what does that do to our schedule so that,
So let's go through that. So let me roll with that. So if we say the 20th closes, you still meet on November 27th, 1 week later, to review. Then, your review of applications, I did that one. The initial interviews could be then bumped up a week. Let's maintain 12th, 13th, and 14th for your second round. So what do your calendars look like, just going with the 5th, 6th, and 7th for the first
December.
round?
Yeah.
We have a call meeting on the 5th,
You do?
do we?
That's just a help, Mark.
Yeah, I think we just hold it,
That's just a
Okay.
whole spot, yeah.
so we're all already free on the 5th.
5th, 6th, and 7th is your first, just bump that up as your first initial interviews. 12, 13, 14 would be your second. We can prepare for follow-up though, anytime during any meeting, after your last interview, something like that. And that was just I think, we placed that day just because there'd been some time, felt like we needed to come in to talk to you. We do need to talk to you about questions and all of those kinds of things too, but, we could look at doing that on after the 7th. But,
Yeah.
right, Craig?
Yeah, the second round, as y'all remember, is much, that first round is, we recommend a very straightforward, bam, 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 bam. The second round is more of let's sit and talk. We know we've got the right person in this room. We want to talk about them and make sure we pick the very best person. And so it's much more casual.
So in the second round though, last time we did dinners with the family members, do we not do
We've
that
changed
anymore?
that a little bit.
Okay.
You can if you want to.
We'll do whatever you want, but-
We found that, you know, we encourage you to invite the significant other, meet, have a social, few minutes. You've got a wonderful staff here. They can take the person out and visit with them while you finish up talking there and with that person. So you have, and from my point of view as a superintendent, when my wife was involved, she felt like she was involved. And it made the transition much more willingly than, you know, I married a girl from New Braunfels, had lived, growing up there, mother had been on the school board, taught, and then I moved her 5 times. You know, I couldn't keep a job, you know. But it really brings that into you want the whole package, and you get to see that.
So you decide on the type of social you want.
Yeah,
It could be just snacks and things
Yeah.
like that. One of the things I would always recommend, and it would be again an ask of the staff or someone that this board chooses, is, as Craig said, it was very helpful if someone could give the spouse or family member a tour. Show them the community, show them some of the schools, show them stores, HEBs, you know, I mean, what does life look like? And it just, again, helps, instead of that spouse sitting and just waiting for his or her, you know, husband or wife to finish up, but a little bit of a tour, someone you trust that can take that person on the tour, but also it's very, you know, good input or information too about how that individual sees themselves, because again, as Craig is saying, it's a family endeavor. And we need to see if that individual sees themselves here in your community too. So I would suggest that, but it doesn't have to be as formal as a dinner.
But
It
y'all have
could
the
be
Chamber of
snacks.
Commerce working for you already, so.
Yeah.
So what,
Back
Does
in
that make sense?
back
so
in
what dates
2000
should I write in here for follow-up interviews?
We're keeping the 12th and 13th and 14th.
And those are the
I know
following.
back in
12,
2010, we had a couple of the wives of the board members actually took all
That's a
three
good
of the
idea.
finalist
Yeah.
spouses and
Yeah.
showed them the town, and they all came back and they really loved the town and so on, and so it started that initial process.
I would love that.
It's hard.
Yeah, the prepare for follow-up interviews, would that be the 7th after the last meeting?
Yes, yes.
That'd be a late night, but get it done.
Well, you were gonna wanna pick up anyway,
That's true,
so we can get a hold of them and get them back that next week,
that's true.
so,
The more lead time they have, the better.
yeah.
If there's only a couple of hours.
So let's then talk about this. If you're looking at your calendars and you're looking at the December timeframe, 12th, 13th, and 14th, what about, then of course you would want to name your lone finalists that next week, correct? So what does your calendars look like? Do you want to do then that site visit? I would suggest if you're interviewing 12, 13, 14, your site visit could be on the 18th of December, Monday, the 18th.
Some districts may not be in session though,
You're
for
right.
that matter.
It would be hard to, because we do rely upon this, you know, the receiving school district to help, you know, calls in terms of setting up some time with teachers. I've noticed setting people in calendars as well, that many districts are taking three weeks.
Right.
They're taking that 18th off, 20th, of course, Christmas week, and then the next week. So it could be just a placeholder, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Meaning, depending upon the district.
Right, and I, 6 and 1, half dozen the other, and the value of the interview and the in-person interview in the first place.
So what is the benefit of the site visit? I know that it's recommended, what, 2 board members go?
Yeah, you have, now have a quorum, no more than 3 of you go. It is, the benefit is just to see that individual and to see if some of the things said, for better word, match up, meaning if they talked about their facility improvements, do they really have these facilities, things like that. But you generally we ask them, you may talk with the current board member of that candidate if they're a sitting superintendent. If not, you'll talk with the superintendent if they're a deputy superintendent, things like that. You may talk to some parents, you may talk to some staff members, but they have to help us arrange that too, so
So they're gonna pick the right ones.
it's not a town hall meeting about this person.
Right.
In my years, I've never had that visit come back and say, oh, no, we're not. No, it's not, it's usually a verification. Today with social media and things, it used to be 80–90% of the districts did that. Now we don't see that.
Sure.
That, especially, now, if you pick one from Alaska and you want somebody to go with you, I'll be glad.
And in December.
It's still Alaska. You know,
Yeah,
there's
it's
a lot
still
of
Alaska,
places
right?
in Alaska
Yeah.
along that coast. But anyway, so,
My feedback was, when I was a superintendent and through the process, when the receiving district, they felt like it was beneficial. They enjoyed coming to my district. And it wasn't so much to check on necessarily all I said, but really to see what my environment was like, what the community was like that I was leaving and coming to. So they knew, of course, that people were selected, but they did gain a few things, they told me, after the fact that they either got, as Craig said, things are validated, things like that too, or something, maybe just added more understanding of the candidate that you're bringing on.
I would imagine you get a pretty good sense just by kind of being there and seeing what the tenor and energy
Yeah.
is. And all
Morale.
those kind, the morale.
Right.
And then we can try and breach the security and see if
Oh, yeah, you could be one of those that check you off as
Check
one
the-
of the safety center requirements that you have. So we'll look at, if y'all jot that down, we'll look at December 18th as a possible site visit.
then you draw straws to see who goes.
Yeah, then see who's calendar, and with Belinda's traveling the next day, we might like give her the day off, she's got somewhere.
Well, no.
Oh, that was November, not December, November, sorry. Okay, so after that then, is your, Ms. Martinez, your regular meeting is the Tuesday or Wednesday that week?
Tuesday,
the
19th.
The 19th. So that's your regular meeting, and you propose doing it early in that day, or do you wanna look at, naming the lone finalists the Wednesday, or?
So,
what do you think?
okay, so hold on, we would do the site visit before naming the lone finalist?
That's what we
And,
did.
It's a person of interest.
Person,
Person
okay.
of interest.
I vaguely remember when we had this discussion last time, for some reason, there was a reason not to put naming the lone finalist in the board meeting. And so we had a meeting the day after.
Yes, that's after the visit. You go, you have a person of interest that you decide.
You don't have any formal action yet
Yeah.
after your second round interviews
Okay,
to name the lone finalists. You don't have to do that. I mean, you don't have a meeting.
We've kind of chosen somebody in closed session, we just haven't named them publicly yet, so we're going to.
This person of interest district.
okay.
So at that point, we'd be down to 3, and maybe 3 site visits?
No,
No.
Hopefully,
Yeah, well,
after the 3 interview for the second round, you want to go to 1 individual's.
Okay.
I'm afraid you might lose some candidates if you start trying to go to visit three
Oh, yeah.
districts, because that's not something. as a setting superintendent, you want people to come kick the tires in your district and then you not be the one.
But if it's on December 18th, then you have to go to Alaska, you're not gonna be able to get that.
Oh, I know, it's hard.
I'm saying Hawaii.
Well,
But to your question, some districts, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, there's nothing wrong, you could, you may name a loan finalist if you wanted to, and still go to the district. There's nothing in law that precludes you from naming a loan finalist and still going to visit the district. I would say customarily you wait as a validation and visit the district, then set a date for your naming of the loan finalist.
Right, so I think that's what I'm getting at, is the naming, the date of actually naming the loan finalist. The last time, for some reason, we didn't put it in an actual board meeting. We have a board meeting on the 19th.
Is there a reason why we couldn't make that decision and make that announcement at the board meeting?
as long as you put it on the agenda properly.
Okay.
No, there's not. I think customarily, it's because you have a lot of other things on your agenda,
Right, sure.
Things like that. Just a food for thought, I haven't noticed your procedure. Sometimes you could have a special call meeting earlier in the day. Right? If your meeting started at 6, you could name a loan finalist at 5 or 4:30 or 5. Have a quick hoorah. So, well, the loan finalist, that's different than signing the contract. Just do 5 or 5:30. Name your loan finalist and then go into your.
In 2010, we actually named Greg as our loan finalist at the other board meeting.
Certainly do. I would do it like
I
as
think we did
Okay.
right off the bat.
I would do it as a call
That way,
meeting.
he knew it, and he said at our board meeting, see how we did things in our board meeting.
Yeah.
He was like first order of business.
Okay.
However
So,
y'all want to do it, which you.
first order of business or 5:30?
I think it was first order of business after everything. We named
After
him as
pledges and stuff like that, is what you're saying?
first order, yeah, right after the pledges and everything else, and we named him loan finalist and to. I'm trying to remember, I'm 99% sure that's how we did it.
Okay.
That's the name.
I got my tickets up to Southwest so I can change them. Did it last night too. Right as I got home, I was too tired. I should have known better than let her talk me into that.
Craig, will lean on you a second. Quick question for you. After you name a loan finalist on the 19th, any restrictions with holidays on 21 days? Count 21 days from there?
I'm not aware of any on that.
Legally,
We can check with legal.
we will double check to be sure. I don't believe there's anything. Your 21 days can go through the holidays.
Right.
Okay.
Kind of.
That would mean we could hire on the 9th.
Somebody do the math for me.
That would be after, it's 3 weeks from the 19th is the 9th.
Vote to hire them would be the 9th. So that is a Tuesday the 9th.
Tuesday?
Is which a regular meeting in January? The next week?
It's the 16th.
16th.
That'd be great. It would be nice to have that separate,
16.
Yes.
to have a meeting, you congratulate, maybe a reception, something, and then allow the person to come the next week possibly to see you in operation on your 1640 meetings to observe, things like that.
Just, I was just trying to get your thought. So it seems like the same thing is happening that happened last go round, which is a possible transition of leadership or reorganization of the board during this process. Is there any recommendation one way or the other? Should we just sort of maintain, should we delay it or should we just go on and, we usually reorganize December, November, December,
After you pass,
after the vote,
the vote.
after the vote. But Amy and I, we just decided to, I took the first half and then Amy took the second half, and there was no problem in terms of leadership, in terms of ushering in a new superintendent, but I don't know how the superintendent would view it. Sort of saying, hey, I dealt with you as a president, and now I'm dealing with
Oh,
somebody else as the president. You know what I'm saying, around, is that gonna be an issue or not?
okay, it's a tough question. I guess, depending on the hat that I wear,
He's not waiting for you to stay president.
Yeah.
Larry, did you
No, I'm not, I'm just trying to, Amy and I,
He might start throwing bricks at you.
no, Amy and I split it. I'm saying it's perfectly fine, it worked before, that we split in December, because everybody was comfortable But I'm just
I
saying.
think the person hasn't worked yet, I mean, because during the interviews, they don't know. I mean, the person is leading that part, but it's not like they've had any established relationship with the
Okay,
board
that's fine, I
president.
was just,
All I would recommend is that person, if you reorganize, of course, just be thinking someone that's been, you wouldn't want a brand new board member as board president right away, or someone, you want some experience as a current trustee that moves into the presidency.
I probably won't, I shouldn't be here. I was just asking,
Yeah.
just from my,
But I don't think it, Greg, what do you think?
I think, if you have a concern about that second round interview, you can visit about it. Say, if you're a person, we may have a transition, how do you feel about transitions and boards, and how would you work that out with your board? Because,
But the question would be, is that I understand, is how many seats are up in November's election?
just one,
Just one.
just
So,
one.
because you're,
But every 2 years we reorg. Well, every
Oh,
year.
okay.
but I think a bigger question would have been if this individual is coming in for your interviews, and during the interviews, there could be a new, other than the one new board member, like
Yeah.
several, like 3 of you were up.
I had
or-
that happen in Marion.
Yes, so, meeting, and they were interviewing at the same time, there's an election going on, that would be a bigger
Yes.
concern.
No, you'll see
Yeah.
90% of,
Right.
well, minus.
It'll be up to the board to decide on leadership.
And that's where that transition piece comes in that we offer. When you get the person in and you have an opportunity, Warren Moore, I don't know if you all know Warren, is one of our local
Board consultant.
board consultants that does that. And as part of our services, you pay us to travel. And he comes in and sits down with you and says, okay, here's what's going on, let's talk about. Here's where we're really good, here's some concerns we have. So how is, with Team Avator, we're gonna work that out and get it, and you walk away. The reason you have Oren is you have a referee, and you keep things on track, and people get to talk, and you don't have to worry about being president, you don't have to worry about being secretary, you're just, Robert. You get to-
Okay, so that sounds good. So am I hearing consensus though about that time? Moving up for Christmas, looking at it, not pushing it.
What date does that put the super to report to the district?
We would look then, because you're voting to hire, not naming, but you're voting to hire January the 9th.
Right.
Then I would say that you could feasibly put February 1
Okay.
as requested.
So the meeting is on 12/19,
Yes.
and then the vote to hire is what date?
The vote to hire then would be Tuesday, January the 9th. Christmas is your throughout Christmas would be your 21 day. And I think with the 9th all the way to the 1st of February is a good transition. It allows, as we've already mentioned, for the individual to attend your next meeting in January, as well as to transition if need be or requested with Dr. Ely and start that process.
Okay, I've got here, vote to name finalists on the 16th, which is a Tuesday of January, and vote to hire on a Wednesday. Does that have to be 21 holiday, or does that have to be 22?
I put vote to hire on the 9th.
December. Vote to hire is Tuesday, January 9th. Vote to name
Well,
finalists.
I'm looking at their timeline, they've got Tuesday for vote to name finalists, and Wednesday.
Those are just suggested, I was not even looking at
You know what,
it.
we're changing.
Throw it around. I'm gonna send you a new one as I get to the office and redo it.
That's all gone.
It's all gone.
Is it 21 holidays, or just 21 days from?
So you have a meeting, I assume, that you finish 21 days. So I had on here, of course, that your interviews and, so you're meeting on the 19th of December to name your lone finalists. So I'm looking at your calendar, and you get 1, 2, 3. 21st day is the 9th, so let me check. Could be the 9th, or it might be the 10th.
I can't remember how that reads exactly, if it's 21 total calendar days it has to be, or if it's 21 days.
And then the next is your
Finish
first.
day. So that's what I can't remember.
That's
Don't
a
be a
big-
tiebreaker, will it?
So if not, then we would would have your meeting the 10th of
The
July.
22nd day, then I think is what the original calendar would be.
Okay, so then thanks for bringing that up, then you can't be then your exactly the 10th.
And 11.
Your regular meeting's the 16th, you didn't have anything else going on the 9th anyway, right?
We often keep the, well, it's not that Tuesday anyway. We keep the first Tuesday for board, for budget meetings and for stuff like that. We don't always use it, but we keep it for called meetings. That would have been the second Tuesday anyway, so that we really didn't have anything going on.
Let's just punt that to the 10th, be safe. But, sorry, good,
Okay.
it is good. Let's just be safe using the 22nd day.
I'm just
would be
thinking, I know 21 days, somewhere in the back of my head says it has to be 21 total
Full
days.
days, not the 21st.
Right.
So that would be then January 10th. Okay? As I said, we'll type it all up, get it all to you. I know you have your calendar open. Anybody see any other, with your calendars open, conflicts? Speak now or forever hold your peace. On dates, but I know things come up, and I don't need to say that, flippantly. I know things come up, and again, that's why you're not voting on this set in stone, and we could adjust it had something happened.
The only hope is we're going to have a brand new board member and they're going to have to
They have these days.
conform to these days.
Yeah, they have these days.
Or we don't need everyone every day, right?
I mean, it's better if you have everybody.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
But
Like Jerry said, he missed first round but did do second, right?
I missed
Oh,
first round.
you did, Ed did, I'm sorry.
But I mean, second,
Yeah, so you can do some of the first and then come in.
Emergency.
No,
Yeah.
it has to be that all first, you can do it. Okay,
Wow.
All right, so we're talking
all right,
first and second week of
December.
December, we're talking Monday through Wednesday?
5,
5, 6,
um,
and 7.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
So let's also narrow down the location of the interviews. We did them last time over in the office, next to Clark's office. That's where we did the interviews. I don't know, Priscilla, what does that look like? Would we be able to use
We were
that
actually
space or are we
talking about
better
it
off?
this morning.
I'm
We
sorry?
were actually talking about it this morning,
Okay,
possibly having it over at central office,
okay.
just for the sake of privacy.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a little
That's actually-
bit easier
Well, we're
discussing it as far as.
Trying to help y'all manage while y'all are inside session, making sure that the candidates, yourselves, everything is,
Yeah.
secure, so.
So we didn't have the gates before. I think the doors we used allow one to come in one way and out the other, but we didn't have that gate before. Will we have to
We
coordinate
talked
that?
about that too.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
we'll have a way to.
Yeah,
All right,
we're
allow
trying to
them in.
manage that.
okay.
This, sure, for our sake on the invites and things that we narrow, exactly the address, because we've had some, not here, of course, others I've heard, we've been traveling and went to different places that they shouldn't have or something. So,
Snap
See
food.
that?
yeah, snap food. Because here it is a little confusing, 'cause you have this center and the central office, two
Right.
different, just doing a Google search or something. So we want to make sure they.
I'm like an old horse, I go to the stable.
So
Yeah.
office going to be, is the board room going to be done by?
And so don't we,
Supposed to be done in
at
December.
some point?
Yeah, we'll do that when
Well,
we get,
it
right
may
before
not be
you
that
have
early.
access to the.
Okay.
Product was a confidentiality form, you'll get that right before you have access to it.
So the November 17th meeting's gonna be Oh, no, but I'm sorry.
27th.
27th. I misspoke. 27th.
Yeah, your deadline for applications is the 20th, then, in terms of to the candidates, and then you have that week, all their Thanksgiving, eat your turkey, have your computer on. Hey, here's your resume, is to back out of the family a little bit. Say, hey, and then come back.
Nap a little bit, read a little bit, nap a little bit.
That too, and then you have all weekend, and then we'll come back on the 27th, and just like this, setting and hammer it out, which ones you all are going to use.
What's the date for the prepare for follow-up interviews? What did we put for
December.
that?
That's the same day as your
Last.
Last interview.
I mean, your first round interview, which will be the same. We'll just stay with you.
Okay.
We'll figure it out, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll stay with you that night.
Sometimes we do it by telephone, sometimes I live close enough, I can come
We
and
can figure it out. We get here.
We can hold our hands.
Well, you'll have to get my wife's permission. She won't like, Jerry.
On the 27th, will we talk about the questions?
Yes.
Okay.
And you can bring your own questions, but we have questions that we've done over the years, and we know they're legal. And the ones, seriously, you got,
Seriously,
They
yeah.
are, they've been
part of our job
gone through
is to let you do what you want to do,
Yeah.
make sure you do it legally.
Yes.
And, we're not lawyers, but our lawyers have looked at our questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Remember last time we had like 100 different questions.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have the right time.
Yeah, there's plenty to choose from, and
When do we talk
if you
about
look
salary
at the
negotiations?
job description for the superintendent.
Where does that-
policies, they get right to all of
I want Craig to verify, in terms of talking about salaries and negotiations, I mean, we do have that, some similar generic
Yep.
questions asked.
We'll prepare you for that meeting, that first round, and the board president will be given an opportunity at the very end of the meeting to say, what kind of range are you looking for in salary? We're not asking you to give the specifics, but here's what, and they'll know to,
To be, the candidates will know to be prepared if they're
Yeah.
selected to be in the top 6.
When do we as a board decide that? That range?
at that meeting, we'll bring salaries from the region and
Will
from
we
the
review
state,
your candidates?
districts, your
Okay.
side, so you'll know what the,
Okay.
what the going price is.
Well, it's a public record what Dr. Ely.
Yeah, and anybody doing their search,
They're gonna
well,
find
they're
that.
gonna find that, but
Yeah.
what you wanna know is also,
And help us out with that.
how can we,
That's
No.
what it's called negotiation.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you want to arrange with everybody else in the states.
Yeah. And that helps you when you've had someone like Byron Steele that was here forever, and then you have to hire somebody else, and the sticker shock comes in, you say,
Yes.
wait a minute, it happens, so.
Dr. Gibson was a
That-
super shot for us.
So
But you got your money's worth.
determined
Yes,
if we
sir.
were going to have them do in-person interviews with the staff or surveys, are we doing those?
Yeah, did we make a decision
Did
on
we make
that?
a decision on that?
Thought I heard so, and we were looking then on that 30th of
So
October.
the 30th, there's 2 different events going on. We have a mental health session, and they're doing, the booster clubs are doing the eating contest at Slums. So you're gonna lose people at those events.
So what time would you have done those? Because these are in the evening.
Yeah, 6 and 6:30 are those events, so.
Around that, we'd like to have one around that time.
You want to come to the Slim Chicken?
It's very fun.
Get some dessert. You could even join in.
And I wouldn't want to do it, of course, Halloween
Yeah.
night.
Yes.
So it's up to you all, if you really feel like you have, as I said, otherwise you have your own line, you don't have to do them if you think there'd be conflicts, or
Well, I think talking, like you said, to the staff,
staff.
Yeah.
teachers is important. I don't, we have a hard time getting parents to show up anyway. So I think letting the parents and students do an online and interviewing with the staff and teachers, I think is more important, don't y'all?
Well,
I do.
if you're gonna be here, we should offer it to
You gotta
them.
do them all, though.
We gotta include those 5 or 6 that are gonna come to it in person.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about,
What about the community leaders?
That's what I'm saying.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Many of them, most of them, we see
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And so it won't be like they're gonna come specifically to that so they can talk to us. I mean, Mayor Daley's already told me he wants to run for
So it would be like an all-day,
And you're not, and traditionally you all don't attend.
right, right.
And so it would, I would love to see it, if, in terms of it, like where we have our team members come in, we could do one around lunch hour. As I said,
Like
do
the staff.
something around after school hours for the staff, could be in an elementary and a secondary type of thing, and then have an evening one. So we could pick a day and at
About
least.
November 1st, I don't see anything big on that day. But I
That
know
is
about
a Wednesday,
Wednesday.
as long as y'all don't think there's any conflict with church things or things like that.
could be, but we should be doing it there.
I don't know,
Some people have Bible study. You have Bible study?
I don't.
Some people have Bible study, Bible group study. I know my neighbors, some of my neighbors.
Some do.
Take your iPad to Bible study.
But if they're gonna have it different times of the day, they can choose a different time, right? Correct?
First or the second, I
Well,
would
it's the
say.
same.
Well, if-
What about the second?
The second is the Battle of Freedom football game.
Oh, no,
That's
it's
out.
coming up.
No, one's coming to that. No one's coming.
They were set. Let's do the, then we'll propose some times on the first. Yeah, does that,
Okay.
around that outline?
Yeah, the whole town will get that one, so forget it.
And so it's the district's responsibility to email out the surveys to the parents and the staff and stuff.
Yeah, we prepare, but like I said, I wanna get with, Ms. Martinez as well as maybe Dr. Ely too, just to kind of see a plan when that goes out. Not that it comes from him,
Right.
of course, but just be sure what your outlets are of communicating with your parents. So that, you know, it would be some good kind of reminders.
Okay.
Well, we offer other surveys. It's nothing new for the district.
Okay, all right, very good. Thank you so much. It's a good workable timeline, right? We're good? Yep. All right.
It's definitely compressed.
It's compressed. Got our work cut out. We'll be hitting it hard with candidates and reminding them of that timeline so they get their, once they get started though, I mean, just saying candidates, once you get in the system, it is better to have that, you know, if you're serious, you get it, you do it, you get it done. Otherwise, it goes on way too long and we do a piece here, a piece there, and it is, you finish it up. So for qualifications and characteristics, if you see that handout, wanted just to review those with you, get your thoughts. Again, this is from working with many boards, many communities, and just seeing things that bubble up. Is there anything that stands out that do not like, or is there anything else or rewording that we could kind of wordsmith a little bit?
I was looking for innovative, and that's in number 5, so we're good.
I'm glad you brought that one up. I would just suggesting on that one with innovation is that I don't know if you necessarily need instructional technology because it is, that's the expectation of, used to be before, you know, when districts were bringing those issues on or one-to-ones on, but I think a broad statement about being innovative is more important.
You could just
My view.
leave out that
Right.
technology part and
Has had proven
Innovative
success in implementing innovative strategies in today's.
I think innovative is important, like for educational,
Right.
instructional, you know, all of it.
Because there's more than just technology to be innovative in the classroom, that's all I'm arguing about,
Yeah.
too, but beyond just the
Yeah.
technology. Okay?
Our schools are filled with innovation. Crap. And I don't know about progressive visionary.
Yeah,
This is a conservative,
that heartburns me big time.
Okay, visionary or just starting with proven,
if they've got a vision, they can convince us, they can persuade us that we need to go a different direction.
Yeah, the progressive looks in one way, not
Yeah,
the right way.
I'm not sure that attracts the kind of individual we're looking for. I can only speak for myself.
so you would just strike visionary out of that statement?
Progressive.
just progressive.
I'm
Just say
sorry,
it's
I
a
meant
visionary.
progressive. I meant,
I get you. I don't know where he's going.
yeah.
Yes.
I did too.
Yes.
Thank you. That's why we're doing this. Yeah. Thank you.
We're outside the beltway, not inside.
One of the things that I've thought about over the years is an effective classroom teacher. You know, we can have, it seems like that many of the superintendents, don't take this the wrong way, don't tend to have been classroom teachers. And I think it's important for us to have somebody that has been a classroom teacher, that actually knows what
I get what
that
you
looks
mean.
like.
Mhm.
And too many over the years have not been what I would call baseline classroom teachers. That's a very different mindset, it's a very different experience set. And I think that'd be something it'd be something that would make me.
That's why it's rare for someone to come up through the ranks and actually have the skill set needed to be an executive. Because that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
A person could run a school district without ever having, if they're a good executive, they can run an organization of any kind. Because the skills needed for that are completely different than classroom skills. And so I'm very much more inclined to look towards someone who has the executive skill set to run a large organization like this one. Because, that's why teachers don't usually filter up to the top like that. Because it's rare to find someone who has those kind of skills. I'm not saying that they of course should have an empathy and an understanding, but probably no more for that teacher than say an executive would have for a line worker at Ford. You know, they still have to be tuned into that. But there's not many line workers from Ford who are in the executive suite, and there's a reason for that.
But I think most of the superintendents across the state start in the
Yes,
classroom.
they have come up with
Yes,
that.
certification
Yes.
requires 5 years
Yeah,
of
Yeah.
teaching
yeah.
experience.
So
they have-
to get
they all have
certified,
it.
So if they're certified,
That's what's right.
they already have it.
Right,
So we don't need to write it in.
I would just suggest two things. When you look at that, when you are individually looking at the candidates, when you screen them, and you're looking at the resumes and things like that and their experiences, you could look and see what their classroom was. And then you could think about that as a possibility of a question. If you all, when you get to deciding what questions you ask, for example, describe to me what does an effective classroom look like? And then, so your candidate can, a real open-ended question that you could see yea or nay if they understand effective instruction looks like, describing a classroom. I'm just throwing that out there as a way, if that's something all of you would like to test. In terms of, as Craig is saying, that is generally, of course, a prereq is through the certification process, that you have a teaching certificate,
And that we'll see in their
certification.
application,
Yes.
if that information will be there.
There are a few that are non-traditional that you can get certification and not have gotten a teaching certificate. It's more rare than it is common.
Most of the time, teaching classrooms are totally different now from then when they were in classroom.
and
It's totally different.
that's the point, is that you require a different mindset in your classroom,
Well, it
especially in the
depends on the
elementary
age of the
classroom.
person.
That mindset
That's
is
why I said.
very unique.
It's
I mean,
still-
you can have a coach that could have a teacher certificate, and they're not gonna bring a classroom mindset to where they're going, they're gonna bring a coach's mindset. That's a very different setup.
Well, but you don't want a teacher running a school district either,
Why?
because you gotta know all the
They would have learned that.
the way a teacher is. I'm somebody who's never been on administration, walking out of a teacher and have to know.
Just knowing the bodies.
So we're saying the same thing. We're not
Yeah,
gonna,
we're saying the same
we're not
thing.
gonna only hire teachers, we're not gonna only hire administrators. You have to have a
This
balance.
is good discussion.
Well, I'm just saying, at some point in
Yeah.
time
This
in
could
their
go on for a while.
education,
You're right,
It's a good debate.
but you're
That's something
agreeing
other
with
than
Amy that
deliberations.
they have to have just come out of the classroom because,
no, I'm not saying.
because
that.
like Amy said, 30 years ago, classrooms were different.
That's not what I said. I'm agreeing.
It's
with-
what you said, it may not have been what you meant, but it is what you said.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said.
So we're actually done with the planning part, but, no, because like, we could carry this on conversation, the two of you could, because we wouldn't be a quorum after we gavel out.
I'm good.
I'm really for
So we're not doing this?
Which one is, no, we don't
We don't need to do that.
All right. Didn't know what you guys discussed at the last planning meeting.
Well, it's good to see you all.
Good debate, as I was saying, that would be good debate.
We have open communication.
It's gonna be, it's gonna be fun, deciding better candidates and then deciding that finally is not done. It'll be good. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Right. Anyone have anything else to add?
No, sir.
Any other questions?
Bang.
All right, we're adjourned at 7:16.
All right.
We all have